Look, the people voting. Look at the blue. Tell them we not leaving. Tell the last one to leave the poll. Bravo to the capital. I feel like I ring the bell again. Shop and shake the bell again. Wave with PDMs again. PDM is home. 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 Look at the blue. I feel like I ring the bell again. Shop and shake the bell again. Wave with PDMs again. PDM is home. 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 Now with this time for way, dance with PDMs, shop with PDMs, sing with PDMs, ringing the bells again. Ring the bell, get standard. When we on the roadway, be like the blue way. It's time to vote for PDM. We voting February 7th. February 7th. We having. This is the right time. Straight down the line. Straight down the line. Look where we are. Yeah. So magical. It's a blessing sent from above. And we voting money. We voting. Look, the people voting. Look at the blue. Tell them we not leaving. Hey. Tell the last one to leave the poll. Bravo to the capital. I feel like I ring the bell again. Shop and shake the bell again. Wave with PDMs again. PDM is home. PDM home. Ingangale home. Shake it bang, shake it bang, shake it bang, ingangale. I feel like I ring the bell again. Ring it. Shop and shake the bell again. Ring it. Wave with PDMs again. PDM is home. 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 Y'all ready? Now take this time for way. Dance with PDMs. Shop with PDMs. Sing with PDMs. Ringing with bells again. Ring, get done bad. When we on the roadway, be like the blue way. It's time to vote for PDM. I should not vote the PDM. Boy, yoy, PDM in with DNA. Boy, yoy, when we on the roadway, be like the blue way. Yes, PDM in with DNA. From ED1 to ED10, we are all PDMs. Give me 1, give me 9, just vote straight down the line. Blue, blue, ring them bells.
But our leaders we will rise. For every day long stream we stand and fight. Bring hope to the darkness, igniting the light. PDMs, you know we got to fight. Locals are struggling, left out in the cold. While they line their pockets, our stories go untold. We're tired of waiting for a change that will come. But when Eddie hear our voices will hum. Hear our call, but our leaders will rise. For every day long stream, he'll stand and fight. Bringing hope to the darkness, igniting the light. PDM, we got to stand and fight. The streets of Bravo to the North Cape shore, we'll join hands and demanding so much more. For justice and safety, we'll take back our land. Red Daddy leading, united we stand. Hear our call, but our leader we will rise. For every day lost dream, we'll stand and fight. Bringing back hope to the darkness at night in the light. Turks and Caicos, we got to stand up and fight. up our voices, let's make them clear. With Eddie's vision, we got nothing to fear. Together we'll build a future so bright for Turks and Caicos. We'll win this fight once we unite. Hear our call, with our leaders we will rise. For everyday lost dream, we'll stand and fight. Bringing back hope to the darkness, igniting the light. BDM, we got to stand and fight. Hear our call, your leaders we will rise. For everyday lost dreams, we'll stand and fight. Bringing back hope to the darkness, igniting the light. Turks and Caicos, we got to stand up and fight. Hear our call, but our leader we will rise. For everyday lost dream, we'll stand and fight. Bringing back hope to the darkness, igniting the light. Turks and Caicos, we got to stand and fight. Hear our call, our leader will rise. For everyday lost dream, we'll stand and fight. Bringing back hope to the darkness, igniting the light. Turks and Caicos, we got to stand and fight. BDM, 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 BDM. God, let's go.
Good evening, Turks and Caicos. I'm Ezra Taylor, your special host this evening for the Citizens Call. This evening is a very special evening. We have a lovely cast this evening to bring some great ideas to you in terms of what the PDM's vision is moving forward. So I'm looking forward to asking questions and having those delightful answers shared with you throughout the Turks and Caicos. This evening, as we move forward with the show, we'll first have our leader, the Honorable Edwin Oswald, who's on with us, our deputy leader, Mr. Robert Bean, Honorable Dwayne Taylor, our former Speaker of the House, Honorable Alvin Garland, our current appointed member to the House of Parliament, Honorable Sean Oswald, former Deputy Premier, Honorable T. Maud Butterfield, Honorable Ralph Higgs, former Minister of Tourism in the Turks and Caicos Islands. So, you know tonight we're going to have some great content for you. And I must shout out Christy for giving me an opportunity to host this special edition of The Man in Blue this evening. I know there's some big shoes to fill, but I'm going to do the best that I can. So before we get into any questions, I'll turn over to our leader, the Honorable Edwin Oswald, just to bring some brief comments before we move on.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Thank you very much, Turks and Caicos Islands. I come to you tonight to offer sincere condolences to all the families of the victims of the event that took the lives of two persons over the weekend here in Providenciales. We lost a promising young man, a young man full of hope, wonderful character. It's certainly a loss to the community, to the family, and to the wider Turks and Caicos Islands. We also lost a tourist, someone who is a police officer who came to enjoy our beautiful by nature Turks and Caicos Islands. Our hearts are breaking with these families. We owe it to them to do all we can to make our country a safe place for both visitors and residents. We will address that later on when we speak to crime. So on behalf of the People's Democratic Movement, and certainly on behalf of my Oswald, Robertson, Taylor, and Seymour family, I offer sincere condolences to the entire Stubbs family, the entire family of the Turks and Caicos Islands, and the family of the police officer. May their soul rest in peace and rise in eternal glory. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Leader. Well, let's get down to business, Man in Blue. I must commend each and every one of you. You're looking sharp this evening. I don't think I could have done a better job myself, even though I probably look the best among this panel. But it's a pleasure to have you here this evening for you to share with the Turks and Caicos what your vision is as men. We've had our Women in Blue on. Oh, such a great show. Ladies' Night, I don't think anything is going to top that in the near future. But let's jump into one of the more acrimonious issues that's been challenging primarily the people of Providenciales. 8 o'clock in the morning or 7 o'clock in the morning, 5 in the afternoon, traffic. What are we going to do about traffic congestion in the downtown area and other parts of this island on Providenciales? I mean, gentlemen, how is the PDM going to address this issue? I'll start with Honorable Sean Oswald on this question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good night, Turks and Caicos. The PDM has realized, just like everyone else, that traffic has become increasingly worse, and especially in those morning areas in the evenings when persons are trying to get to work and back at home. And we have a robust plan on how we're going to deal with it. It basically, we're looking at alternative roads, the introduction of alternative roads. We're looking at a study on street lights to make sure, traffic lights, to make sure that we know those junctures that we can speed up traffic on. The use of traffic cops as well in certain areas. But also, we are going to tackle the illegal jitney problems to make sure we put in place public transportation. Public transportation is going to be where our citizens can be carried back and forth from home to work, school, and to a safe transportation method that will decrease the amount of vehicles on the street, that will also help in reducing the traffic congestion.
Well, thank you for that. Anyone else want to chime in on traffic congestion?
I think one of the things that, I mean, not straying away from traffic congestion, but I'm grateful what Honorable Oswald stated with regards to the issue with public transportation. I think that is very important to regularize that, because one of the issues we've had with a number of persons being the victims of crime, you know, rape and sexual molestation and harassment and stuff like that. So yes, we are quite on our way with that.
Yes, and Mr. Chair, you know, traveling to Providenciales, coming out early in the morning, you see young kids catching jitneys, you know, unsafe at that time, murders, all family members. As was mentioned, we will tackle this seriously. You know, it will not only create businesses for our people, but we have already looked at alternative roads, especially out of Blue Hills and Wheeling, that can get you straight downtown, straight to the airport. We already have survey maps already done that this is outlined, that is ready to go once we hit office. Also to get up from Leawood Highway, even down Rock area, straight down into Grace Bay. We have those maps. We have that already done. And we already have a plan to get regularized transport on the streets. Legal taxis, jitneys, legal, where they are registered by creating work for people. So this is already in the making, and we definitely want to roll this out as soon as we hit office.
Oh, thank you very much. Let's segue into education and youth empowerment. Youth empowerment and education reforms are central to the PDM's agenda. How will the PDM propose changes to education and vocational training and create opportunities for young people to thrive in today's economy and job market? I'll throw that question to the youngest on the panel, Honorable T-Mart Butterfield.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, Turks and Caicos. It is the PDM's agenda to ensure that the youth of this nation understands that they are at the forefront of national development. And in doing so, it is our agenda to first ensure that we do a comprehensive study on and a review of the entire education sector to ensure that we are tackling the issues and the gaps that need to be filled. First of all, we need to review our curriculums to ensure that we are meeting the national needs of our country, ensuring that we are providing our students with the best education there is. Not just CXC, not just CPEA, but we want to prepare them to be national leaders in our country. And in doing so, we want to ensure that we add elements of financial literacy and other skill-based training that will promote them and also propel them into being good citizens and model citizens in the country. In doing so, we want to also review our technical vocational areas within the Turks and Caicos Islands. As you know, the PDM's agenda from day one is to ensure that we open up a technical vocational school. That will happen. And we want to ensure that we not only have a school for school's sake, but we want to qualify and certify our people, our youth, our young men, our young women. If you have a dream, we want to ensure that we are meeting those needs and providing you with opportunities to grow and thrive, to establish your businesses. In addition to that, we don't want to forget special needs. Special needs is of the core and the heart of our manifesto and our agenda. We cannot forget any level of education. None of our students, no child left behind. All our students are important to us. Our young men, our young women, regardless of your disabilities, we want to meet you where you're at. So of course we want to establish special needs centers in Grand Turk and in Providenciales to combat the issues that we are facing within the special needs arena. How can we forget about sports? Sports is important for the PDM agenda. We want to, of course, upgrade the sporting facilities. We want to ensure that Grand Turk, South Caicos, North Caicos, and Providenciales, specifically our family islands, are equipped to meet the needs of our youth, to ensure that they are thriving in the sporting industry. And lastly, expand scholarship opportunities. We cannot forget that. If you have a dream, if our Turks and Caicos Islands Community College is not offering it, and yes, we want to make sure that we upgrade our college so that we can have our first Turks and Caicos Islands National University. That's important. But we want to ensure that we provide our students, our young men and young women with all the opportunities to qualify themselves and to be model citizens of this country.
Yeah. And just to touch on what Honorable Butterfield had said, also must add that we intend to initiate a youth development fund, most especially geared towards those young entrepreneurs that want to have that exposure to get those business startups, those youths that actually want to invest in careers that's outside of what's currently on the curriculum. So that fund will be a separate fund, different from what we will inject into the current scholarship. As you would have heard the leader said in the last interview that we had, we intend to increase that scholarship budget up to almost about $12 million. So you would have a separate fund for those youths that are interested in being young entrepreneurs.
Yes.
Yes, that is where we're going. Turks and Caicos Islands, you have heard it here. When you graduate from high school, we're going to have an opportunity for you. We are increasing the scholarship budget from the $3 million, not to 6, but straight to 12. That is 4 times the current level. And also that within that $12 million, as the deputy pointed out, for those of you who do not want to follow the scholar way, you want to leave high school and go straight into a business so you can get a grant to start your business right out of high school. We will not leave any of our people behind. And anything that you want to get trained in, we're going to try our best to get you to the best institution possible to get that training. Not just the bachelor's, master's, and or higher. If you want to get trained a certificate for 6 months, we'll have a variety of scholarships for every kind of education desires. If you want 6 months, a year, the 3-year, the 5-year, even up to the 7-year, the doctors, we're going to accommodate that. We are moving this forward in 2025. And lastly, we're going to make sure that we can move that community college from that, and it'll be College of the Turks and Caicos Islands, straight up. College of the Turks and Caicos Islands. We're going to increase the level and then on to University of the Turks and Caicos Islands.
Thank you, Honorable Leader, for that answer. Very detailed. Sounds like a very empowering set of plans that the PDM government has as it relates to youth and youth empowerment. Let's segue into another serious matter that plagues the Turks and Caicos, and that's illegal migration. Persons would have known or would have heard this current government campaign over the years before they became the government about stopping the sloops and saying what they can do and how effective they can be. I think they even appointed a new sheriff who shot blank shots only. Right? This has to be Barney Fife type of sheriff, because I've never seen a sheriff perform so poorly. Right? But as it relates to illegal migration, we know that this is closely connected to some of the illegal activity that transpires in the Turks and Caicos in terms of the importation of illegal firearms and ammunition. Also human smuggling. What are the PDM's plans in order to protect this country's borders and to mitigate against the risk of illegal migration? Let's start out with Honorable Garland on this.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, Turks and Caicos. As the chair have said, this is a very serious topic for the Turks and Caicos Islands. We have seen illegal sloops continue to frequent our borders without being able to be detected. So what it is that illegal migration is not just an immigration issue. It is a national security issue. It is an economic issue. And it is a community issue. We have seen the PNP, under this PNP administration, our borders are weak, our resources are overwhelmed, and we are stretched thin. We will, from day one, implement policies and procedures modernizing and introduce technology that we can detect the sloops before they enter our borders or enter our waters. We will be looking into introducing a biometric system whereby we can detect or have a record of every individual that comes into the Turks and Caicos Islands. We will also be introducing what we will need to stop the illegal trafficking, human trafficking. We're going to take this seriously, and we will empower our border force, give them the resources so that they will be able to better track and capture the human trafficking that is now taking place in the Turks and Caicos Islands.
Thank you, Honorable Garland. Last one.
Yes, just to add to that, as the Honorable Garland has mentioned, we are taking a serious approach. We are no longer waiting on the British government to protect our borders for us. While we will continue to liaise with them and get assistance from them, the Turks and Caicos Islands, for the first time, is going to be taking a progressive approach where we own the situation and we put the resources behind it. It is time we as a country, we said we want to be a nation, we want to determine where we go as a country. It is time that we take responsibility and protect our borders. So we'll expire no expense. We are going to be putting in a full marine base, like saying with new technology. We're going to increase the radar coverage. We're going to make sure that everybody in this country, we know who they are through fingerprinting. If you come here on a work permit, you will be fingerprinted. That is going to be the order of the day, because at the end of the day, this will aid law enforcement when they are investigating crime. They can rule out that the people that are in the country legally are not part of that, and then focus and direct their intelligence on those sectors. We are going to conduct mass raids. There are not going to be any no-go areas for police officers anymore. We are going to make sure that we comb this country, that everybody that is here supposed to be here and is here legally. It is time for Turks and Caicos Islands to get serious about this. A dedicated force to protect the border. Not immigration doing it as an extension, or the police doing it through the Marine Bureau as an extension, but a dedicated force for border protection, fully funded with modern technology. That is the direction the PDM is taking border protection.
But I think that it is important that we introduce SPICE back also, because like the United States, they have ICE. We're going to introduce SPICE, get them out there so that they can go mainly to these sites, especially the construction sites that we have in the Turks and Caicos Islands now, where, I mean, construction is booming and our people are being left behind. So we will introduce, if it's not SPICE, it'll be something similar to SPICE, so that they can go around throughout the Turks and Caicos Islands and make sure that the illegal employment that is currently taking place, that we can monitor that and control that. So I think that is very crucial also.
Well, let me just say this. Traditionally, any immigration enforcement has typically focused on one area. Laborers, persons who are seeking to come here to do labor. What about in the corporate spaces, where persons are coming to the Turks and Caicos and working in corporate spaces and corporate jobs that Turks and Caicos Islanders can be placed in, or opportunities Turks and Caicos Islanders can have, is the PDM government going to be focused on these corporate bodies that also employ persons illegally?
That is a very important question, and you would have heard me and also by extension the PDM. What we are looking at is the current regulations or current policy for the renewal of work permits and also the granting of new work permits. So what we have, the only thing that an employer has to do is advertise in the newspaper 2 weeks, consecutive 2 weeks. And they come back, and this is what you get to support the work permit application. When you submit the work permit application, you show us that you have satisfied that requirement by advertising in the newspaper for 2 weeks, and you are granted the renewal or the work permit. And as I've said, this has come to the point where Turks and Caicos Islands don't even bother applying for these jobs because they know this is what this is particularly for. So what we will do, we will reform the current policy, because it's not working. It's not working to better or in the interest of our people. So we will reform that policy, and what we will do is that when you are renewing a work permit, especially for skilled workers, particularly for skilled workers in the corporate sector, when you are renewing a work permit or applying for a new work permit, you will first have to submit it to the Labor Department 6 weeks prior, right? So that will give the Labor Department some time to identify a qualified applicant. And where the Labor Department will have identified a qualified applicant, the Labor Department will then submit it to that company. And that company, we will change the policy to ensure that that company must give that applicant an interview, right? And also, as I've said, we will even go farther. If the employee requires or desires to have a labor inspector present to observe during the interview, we will also make that part of the new policy. So to ensure that our people are getting a free opportunity.
Just if I may quickly, it is also important to note that we have as many people coming to our country on legal visas, but overstaying us. So under PDM administration, clearly everyone who comes here as a sponsor or surety, someone who stands surety for their visa, we must be aggressive in reaching out to these persons who sponsor people to come here legally, but they overstay. And you would hear of the Cayman Islands system, Bermuda system. If you come here legally and you say you want 10 days, they give you 10 days, and on that 10 day, your name is flagged unless they can see that you left the country. So we have to put in that kind of technology so persons who would have come here legally, and the truth is more people come here legally
That's right.
than via sleuth,
Yeah,
but they
that's right.
overstay.
Yes.
And we don't have a system in place to say, hey, these persons have overstayed. So that will be a part of the technology that we introduce. Persons who come legally, overstay, you reach out to their sponsor or this person who stands surety for them and say, this person has to go and you are responsible for them, right? And we can help to manage overstay persons that way.
One of the things too, Mr. Host, is that you find that you have persons coming here on 3-month, I think some work permit, some 3 months visas, temporary work permits, temporary visas rather, and they are able to go in to these different areas and work. That will cut out, and you don't have that nowhere else, that somebody can just come here 3 months, go on a job, work, and when again they're applying for these persons for work permits, they leave the country, and when again they come up and they're working in those areas. That has to stop as well. I just want to piggyback off of what the Honorable Oswald said with regards to having the radar system, also water sensors and drones and stuff like that. But what we will be doing is that we have to increase the patrols. Instead of doing 8-10 hours, we have to do a 24-hour patrol if we're going to be seriously protecting our borders. And of course we're going to invest also in a cutter right, where you would have the proper equipment to really protect our borders. And we must bring back our air wing, and we will be doing that, you know, along with the helicopter. And I know under the leadership of the Honorable Edwin Oswald, we will make sure that border security is top-notch in protecting our borders.
One of the key elements under this PDM administration is enforcement. We have to be real with it and serious with it. Enforcing every policy, we have to hold our civil servants accountable to ensure that, number one, if it is that you're illegal, you gotta go. If you overstayed, you gotta go. If you're flagged, you gotta go. But two, we are big on investing in our regiment. How can we forget about our regiment? Because number one, it's the PDM party that started and implemented and fund our regiment that we have right now. We want to say goodnight to all our regiment soldiers who are playing an excellent role in doing their duties. But we want to ensure that we have policies to give them the power to do what they have to do. So we have everything that we need in terms of manpower because we're still growing the regiment at this time.
Border Force.
But Border Force is so important. They can assist with Marine, they can assist with dealing with threats, everything. So enforcement and the regiment. Let's not forget about that.
And final point, we have to stop viewing the work permit as a revenue generator.
Oh.
Because that's one of the biggest issues that you see that's happening today. It's about, all right, it's generating revenue. And we have so many unemployed Turks and Caicos Islander. We have to seize that. It's very important.
Great. Before I let the leader chime in, I want to throw this out there. There's a common practice among governments where ministers of immigration tend to overrule in many cases for friends, lovers, and whoever else when persons shouldn't be in this country. Can I, with some surety here tonight, and could you say to the public tonight that the PDM government would be accountable to the Turks and Caicos Islands in terms of doing their duty, the next PDM Minister of Immigration, even though I know there are situations when discretion has to be used, and that is perfectly acceptable. Can you assure the people of the Turks and Caicos Islands that the Minister of Immigration will not be playing hopscotch with enforcement in this country?
Mr. Chair, we need to have clear the guidelines on enforcement. So, and what you're bringing up, that happens. And we need to have clear guidelines where when the minister can step in and overrule the decision of the board. Suddenly you would want the minister to have that criteria. For instance, if you have a funeral in your family and you're bringing people here, say from China, wherever, for the funeral, and they require a visa. And you're just saying these people are here for the weekend, but however their visa are refused. You would want a minister to be able to look at that and say, well, this is just for the weekend. You know, this is persons coming in for the funeral. They have no thing here, so, and the board refused it. The minister should have that power to go in and say, no, I would accept this. But suddenly for guidelines, people just abusing it. We need to have those guidelines in place. And we're going to ensure that no minister abuses their power, that we are going by the book. And we'll have the guidelines that, you know, if it follow these guidelines, most likely this is how the minister is going to rule. And I want to touch in on what Honorable Garland said about SPICE. I do believe the question that you brought up is allegedly why SPICE was dismantled. Because they went into the wrong area, to the white-collar jobs, not white as in people, as in the type of jobs. And they did some work in there. And then the order was sent, you touched the wrong people or you touched the wrong business. You're supposed to be down there around the construction sites dealing with the people, Caribbean neighbors. How dare you come up this way and deal with these people? And that's what happened, SPICE disband. But we want to bring back a unit like that, as Honorable Garland said, to go in, to do the raids. And we want to have different versions of SPICE. SPICE would deal with the white collar crime, those industries who specialize downtown, construction, and spice teams, or whatever we call them, who was on the water. As it relates to Honorable Taylor, he said we need those facilities on the water. You always hear me talk about eyes in the sky and eyes in the water. That is exactly what Honorable Taylor is talking about, the proper cutter. And I'm always telling them the cutter need to have the gunship, or the gunship, I call it, you know, the gun on it. So we're going to take a serious approach to immigration, locking down. The police do not have their plane. We are giving back the police their plane right away. You know, it's been, 7, 8 years. The police do not have a plane to patrol out with us every day. So we are bringing that back also.
All right. Thank you for that, Honorable Leader. You heard it, Turks and Caicos, accountability. Accountability, that is what is important with a government, and it's refreshing to hear a group of men who are vying to run this country put that on the front burner, accountability. Let's segue into something a little more economic, the cost of living, Honorable Leader. With the rising cost of living that's affecting every household in the Turks and Caicos Islands, what specific measures will the PDM introduce to make essential goods more affordable, boost economic growth across the entire nation?
Thank you very much for that, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair and Honorable Garland can attest to this. The last 2 meetings of the House of Assembly, we were getting mixed messages. We had the Premier presenting a report saying that the country is doing good. And just even before, in the same breath, he's saying, oh, the people is doing so bad, the people are struggling under the cost of living. The country is doing excellent. We have all high time revenues. But the same next report he presented, the people are doing so bad. So what that's showing you, there is a disconnect. The country is doing good, but doing good for who? Is it doing good for you? I certainly do not think so. So what we have to do is reverse this whole thing, cost of living. You see, they have done nothing to address the root cause. And we have been pleading with them. Let's look at the customs tariffs. Let's look at price control. Let's look at these things. That if the government is foregoing revenue, the people's money, if we're saying we're going to give you these products, move the duties from it, so you're not being charged at 33%, that has to be passed to the consumer. And if that is not being passed, you're a violation of the agreement. And we're going to ensure that when we give these concessions, that it is passed to the consumer. If we're doing it on building equipment, that has to be passed to the consumer. But far too often we are hearing that this is where a lot of businesses run up their profits. The bread basket items, they have been duty-free. We hear the PNP government talking about they give these things duty-free. A lot of these things has been duty-free for years. You know, for sure. You know these things for years. But the persons are not, it's not being passed to consumer. So we're going to look at all the customs tariffs to see where we can reduce that to get goods into the country at a cheaper rate that is affordable to the people, and make sure that that is passed off on to the consumer. And we're going to help the local businesses. We're going to also look at forming relationships with the farmer co-ops. I mean the co-ops inside the United States, where we can get goods and services, the same places that our merchants buy from. We're going to go directly to them to see how we can get that directly to the people without going through the middleman. So we're looking at warehouses. This is going to be like within the second year. So we're going to make all those contacts with all those corporations that sell goods to the Caribbean and other places to make sure that we can get the best prices. And even if we have to set up warehouses where we bring in goods and then they in turn buy it at a reduced cost, we are looking at all that. And we have persons coming forward, Turks and Caicos Islands, who say they know how to do it. They have the contacts. The Honorable Audrey Skippins, he have persons in his community who spoke to me about they know how to get the goods and services into the Turks and Caicos Islands at an affordable price. And we're going to bring on all our qualified Turks and Caicos Islanders who have that knowledge to assist us with this.
Beautiful. Anyone else has
Yeah, I'll just mention and actually take it from another angle, and that is the flip side. When we talk about reducing the cost of living, Obviously, we look at the expenditure part of it, as the Honorable Leader just mentioned. But what we also need to do is look at how do we get more money into our people's pocket. And that's an important element, because normally you're taught in budgeting in school that when you look at budgeting, you said this is your revenue, and you start figuring how you can cut expenses. We want to take a different approach and get our people to start thinking differently. How do you increase your revenue while you manage your expenses? One of the things the last PDM administration does was the 100% service charge. And that was a direct action taken to increase the amount of take-home pay that persons working in the hotel and tourism industry would do. And today, that is paying big dividends to our people who have saw an increase in their take-home pay and helping them through these rough times now. That is the kind of thinking that the PDM is looking forward to do across the board. We make sure that through our business sector, that's only going to be for TCIs, that make sure that our people are benefiting more from the economy. Therefore, owning these businesses, growing small businesses, making more money, being able to fund goods and services for themselves, making sure that our people are properly placed, that at the end of the day, as the government works to reduce the overall cost of living, that our individual Turks and Caicos Islanders, through government policies, can increase their own take-home earnings.
Yeah, and if I may, I would also be a strong advocate for persons who reside on our family islands. As you know, right now, government import duties, and every year we are boosting of surpluses. So if the government is generating surpluses, it may be a time for us to now review how do you give relief to the family islands. For example, if you live in South Caicos or North Caicos or Middle Caicos, you pay government tariffs at this level. And on top of that, you almost have 3 or 4 different tariffs to get your goods and service to your family island. If you're in Laramis, for example, you pay a tariff to get your stuff out of customs. You pay to get it to Heaven Down Rock. You pay to get it to Belfield Landing. You pay to get it to Laramis. It becomes very, very heavy for a person in the family islands. So I think to bring relief to all of the country equally, we look at how we can give relief to persons in the family islands. I believe a person who pays 45 or 50% tariff in Providenciales should not be paying the same tariff in South Caicos or Grand Turk, for that matter. So all of those things will help to stimulate growth and give our family islands, persons who reside in our family islands, serious and considerable relief. So I am sure, and all of you have said it time and time again, you're committed to the growth of the entire country, and you're committed to giving economic empowerment and relief to the entire country. So I'm going to certainly be an advocate for persons in the family islands, and perhaps a tiered type of systems for tariffs charged by government, and where possible, try to persuade the private sector to give special consideration to people in our family islands.
Yes. Well, one of the other areas I know that we are looking at is energy reform. And of course, that can also bring down the cost of living. And, with energy reform, we're going to streamline the process for installations so that, persons can, have a smooth transitioning into making sure that they can have access to solar energy systems. Not only that, we will also have financial support for low-income families, and so so that everyone can have access to solar systems. There will be financial options as well, where we will come in and assist as a government. You can imagine your electrical bill going from $1,000 down to perhaps maybe $25 or even $50 a month. Those are realistic things that are happening right now, and the problem is that the cost of living is so high people cannot afford it, and this is where the government is going to step in. So we will have incentives as well, such as grants and subsidies, for not just residents but small businesses here in the TCI. And so I'm grateful that the visionary, under the leadership of the Honorable Edwin Aswad, we are of course exploring all of these areas to make sure that the cost of living comes down in TCI. And listen, solar energy right now is the thing, and so not only that, solar energy, knowing that we're in the hurricane belt zone, it gives us the option where, you know, when there's a hurricane, you find that right away, as a matter of fact, if it's a heavy rain, electricity gone. We have sunshine 365 days a year. When you have solar systems in place, you don't have to worry about it. If there's a hurricane, you don't have to worry about that. At the same time, the cost of living is reduced in meaningful ways.
I just want to endorse what all the other speakers would have said, and in particular what Honorable Taylor has said. It is cost of living is directly impacted by the cost of energy. So where you can find ways to reduce the cost of energy, it will certainly bring down the cost of living. And as you said, one of the options, and especially within the Caribbean region, one of the options is solar energy. We have to look at alternative sources of renewable energy. That is very important for us, especially in this region, as I said, in the Caribbean region, where we have sunshine 365 days a week. So these days can certainly be an impact on bringing down the cost of living if we can bring down the cost of energy.
It should also be noted too, and we have to invest very heavily in an appropriate port, because tanker ships, ocean-bound tanker ships that are moving now are bigger. For example, South Dock, and it is commendable the improvements that are being made there. Some of it got started under our administration, but if you could get deeper water into our islands, and one ship can bring multiple more times more containers than are currently coming here, the cost of living will come down as well, economies of scale. And I'm sure you all are aware that the long-term economic strategic development plan of our country calls for an appropriate deepwater port that allows us to bring multiple ships. For example, if you're moving a container from Miami to Trinidad, it costs us probably $300 or $400.
Suppose having a
But
transshipment.
if you're bringing a container from Miami to Turks and Caicos, which is considerably closer, it probably costs us 5 or 6 times, 10 times more. The reason being, I'm sure all of the container ships coming here would like to bring more, but we don't have the facilities, the water depth. Yes. So one of the things we have to do, and we'll have to give it some urgency if we're going to address the cost of living, is how do we get bigger ships to come here to bring more containers, which will reduce the cost of living.
Yes, Turks and Caicos, there you're hearing all the measures, all the policies, all the procedures that we are looking to put in place. And of course, alternative energy and engaging with Fortis in a meaningful way that we can reduce the cost to our consumers is going to be high on our agenda. But I want to also touch on, Honorable Ashwood, what you're saying about increasing the revenue, the earning power of our people. So when you talk about the service charge, but I also want to look at civil servants' pay that is directly under us. And we will revisit that because we have seen that with the pay and grade review, most civil servants were either left worse off or at the same level or just a little bit better. And we will correct that. And sorry, gentlemen, it's not going to be for parliamentarians. It's not going to be for PSs. It's not going to be for those high-level persons. When we say civil servants pay and grade, we're going to go to the people who are most impacted and needed the most. We one needed the most. A lot of the directors and PSs one needed, but we know the people out there who needed the most, and we're going to address that for you immediately.
Oh, wonderful! Such a brainful on the economy and how things are going to run on the PDM. But I want to pose this question to Honorable Higgs. As of late, we've seen there wasn't any numbers, any statistics on overnight stays on Providenciales. I've inquired through the tourist, well, DMO now. I went to their site, there aren't any numbers posted. I went to the government's Department of Statistics website. There are no numbers posted for the last 2 years as it relates to overnight stays. I've seen the current Minister of Tourism publish some numbers on cruise arrivals. I guess because those numbers look good. So tell us, and I haven't seen any marketing of the Turks and Caicos Islands on any major networks, on any major platforms. What do you think is happening since the introduction of the DMO, and what's happening to our tourism product?
Brother Taylor, if I must be kind, I would say that the DMO has been a failure by any stretch
of the imagination.
Clearly to make projections on how we're going to market the country, on how the government, what the government is going to generate for revenue from tourism, you need reliable numbers. And for all of the years that I was at the tourist board, we had numbers. Persons would remember boxes and boxes of ED cards, that's immigration arrival cards. We literally scanned every card and we tabulate stayover arrivals that way. We had a relationship with the airport authority, which collects numbers on stayover passengers, total arrivals in, that we can extrapolate which is tourists versus locals. And then in addition to that, we had relationships with other external players that kept statistics on arrivals throughout the Caribbean. So every year we could have reliably said that this amount of persons came as stayover passengers, and we can go to the cruise port, that's the easy part, and the cruise port will give you their numbers. But the tourist board, or the DMO, as I said, has failed in so many ways. They're not able to say reliably who comes here and stays here and what is the average daily expenditure. They have cut out all of our overseas offices. I was talking to a friend in Brazil today. They called asking about the tourist board representative office in Brazil. Sadly, they closed that under the DMO. They closed down the representative office in New York. They closed that down in Canada. They closed it in Europe. So literally, we are not visible in the marketplace. And there's not a single business in this country right now that can say they are seeing positive growth. They are feeling, you can see it, you're not seeing it. You're not, this time of year, every hotel is full, every car is rented, restaurants are overflowing.
Every Airbnb.
Airbnbs, everybody is busy. But for some reason,
It's not.
this year, it is down. And I think the neglect and the underperformance of the DMO is catching up with us. So I want to go on record as saying that we are certainly going to revisit the DMO and its makeup. We're going to get reliable stats on which we can make our projections for economic growth, how much the government is expected to generate from the tourism sector. And I think everybody knows that tourism and all of its extensions are the biggest revenue generator here. So it's very, very important that we have reliable numbers, and not to slight or to talk down to anyone who's employed by the DMO. I'm sure they're doing their very best. I think it is a function or a malfunction of the minister and the ministry.
Policy. That's right.
All right? And I think people know that as with the tourist board and even the small budgets that we had, we did 10 times more than the DMO is currently doing. So you'll get reliable numbers after 7th of February. Reliable numbers will be coming.
Okay, that's refreshing to know. Leader, Bulgalan, you have something to share on tourism?
Yes, I can just chime in. As you would have known, the public hopefully would have known that this was a very passionate issue for the opposition in the House of Assembly. When the bill first came to the House of Assembly for the dissolution of the tourist board, at every juncture, the leader and I made every effort to discourage the government and to take a different course, and they refused to. We were so passionate about it that we even took it to the court to try to stop the bill from becoming legislation. And we were, to some extent, successful. in our application. We had filed a judicial review application. The applicants in that application were the leader of the opposition and myself. We were the applicants who brought that application to try to stop this bill from progressing, from becoming law. And what had transpired is that the court agreed with us that there was no proper consultations held. However, the timing of the application was late because the governor had already assented to the bill and it had already become legislation. So the court had no jurisdiction to reverse that. However, we did make a free effort to discourage and to stop this from happening because we we sincerely believe at the time this was not in the interest of the people of the Turks and Caicos Islands, and we said to the government, send it back out for consultation, and even the public was asking for the bill to go to public consultation, in which they refused to. And as the Honorable Higgs would have said, yes, it is correct. The tourist arrivals are down this year compared to last year and previous years when the tourist board was operating. So, as he said, this is something that we will revisit, and I think that the people out there would like for a PDM government to revisit the DMO and the dissolution of the tourist board.
And just let me quickly, people love their tourist board. Yes. There was nothing that happened in this country when the tourist board existed that the tourist board didn't support. If you're having an event in Grand Turk, you write to your tourist board for a little support. If you're having an event in Middle Caicos, Valentine's Day Cup, you write to the tourist board, the board supported. Athletes going overseas, the board supported. Yeah. Miss Turks and Caicos Universe, the beauty pageant, we supported those things. Right. Kids going to the Caribbean, everything. Now, they have added a hair tax on every Turks and Caicos Islander. Are you aware of that? $10. You have to pay it to the DMO. But how do we get the support from the DMO? It's beyond the reach of our local people. Our local people don't know how to reach them, to access them. So I am saying we must bring our tourist board back in the reach of our people. Let our people feel the ownership of it, feel like it belongs to them, and that they are direct beneficiaries of its efforts to promote tourism.
Yes, Mr. Chair, Honorable Higgs and Honorable Garland is absolutely right. And also, picking up where he left off, we have been asking, where is this fund captured? And appropriations meeting and PAC, where are the funds? Let us know how much is in this fund. The DMO has been collecting this $10 from everybody who travels, to and out of the Turks and Caicos Islands. Where is this money captured? What are you doing with this money? And we do pay them a subvention. They're not self-funded. They're not taking this money like the FSC and others and the Airports Authority and funding themselves. We are giving them a subvention for their activities. And as Honorable Higgs said, the activities has dropped. We are giving them more money than what we gave the tourist board, but the activities dropped. We are allowing them to collect $10 from every person, but the activities drop. Something is definitely wrong, and we definitely will review and revisit that.
Okay, beautiful. Another pressing issue in the Turks and Caicos, primarily among young people, single mothers, single fathers, elderly, across a broad spectrum of Turks and Caicos Islanders, and that's affordable housing. The PDM has rolled out its policy in a press conference a few weeks ago, rave reviews. Some questioned our ability to roll out such a plan, and we suggested that we could get started with 150 homes. The people on the other side, and people questioned 150, saying that we may not be able to achieve that. The other side said they'll be built 3,000, and no one questioned it. And I don't understand how. You've been the government for 4 years.
And
you've built 0 houses. 0 houses, but over the next 5 years you want to build 3,000. Somebody please explain this math to me, because it's beyond comprehension for me. Sit me down like a 5th grader and explain to me how 3,000 homes are going to be built by a government that built none in 4 years. So let's talk about affordable housing. The PDM pledges to tackle this issue head on, to provide housing for our young people. And I'll go to the deputy leader on this one. Can you elaborate on how this initiative will take place under the PDM? I know you've been leading the charge on this.
Yeah. Good night, Turks and Caicos, once again. And we all had to, laugh a bit because the other side had criticized when we said we would, start with 150 homes. We are fully aware that, the housing crisis is in the thousands, right? But this is why we came up with a three-phase approach. The other side tried their best to copy our approach. They had 4 years to deliver several homes. In fact, the other side had 4 years after having the opportunity to deal with Crown Land to give the people an opportunity where they could actually purchase their freehold title of the original lease agreement. But instead, the Premier decided that he wanted folks to pay 50% of the market value. And now, on one of their recent shows, now they're saying the same words that we're saying. Now they want to offer the same thing we were offering. Why now? You had the opportunity while you were in government to offer these leasehold holders the opportunity to pay at those original lease agreements. But let's go into our housing plan. Our housing plan is designed to benefit everybody, Turks and Caicos Island. There's three different phases to assist each Turks and Caicos Island wherever you fall, like those single moms. You have the phase one. That part focuses on empowering, people that wants to make home ownership a reality. And that part comes with offering grants, subsidies to those that are in need to get these housing. And that falls under the area where if you are trying to get a house and you are short on your down payment for the bank, because the reality is this: construction is at its all-time high, and to secure a loan for affordable housing could range anywhere between $400,000 to $600,000, and some, of course, would say it's not affordable, which in reality it really isn't. But this is where you need a government that's going to offer those subsidies to you. So if you only qualify for $250,000, $300,000, just throwing numbers out there, this is where your government has to actually step in and assist you with those additional funding. Secondly, when we move on to phase two of the housing, this is where this is a government-led approach, and also to assist those local developers in developing multiple homes. And this is where we're going to offer, different housing packages that range from different areas of 2 and 3 bedroom apartments. Homes for our people, and also for the single moms, the single the single guys that's not ready, for housing, because not everybody wants to rush into a home. So this is where the multi-purpose apartment development comes into play, that we make affordable accommodation readily available for those that wants to have access to an apartment rather than a home. And thirdly, phase two deals with, the community, rebuilding, redeveloping our communities, and also ensuring that we have those land trusts for future generations to come. At the end of the day, we made it clear, and I have to continue to clarify this for the Turks and Caicos public, that we intend to secure land for generations and generations to come by purchasing, not taking, purchasing land that is on the market for those that wants to sell. We're not going to wait for a foreign investor or foreign developer to buy 50 or 100 acres of land that's on the market. This is where we are protecting future generations to come. And we're going to give you the opportunity where we're not just going to throw you down in Wheeling. That's what this current government wanted to do, where they didn't even develop one home. We want to extend this straight across the board, straight throughout Turks and Caicos. So for those that's in Grand Turk, South Caicos, North Caicos, Middle Caicos, this extends to you as well. It's not just for the island of Providenciales. It's straight throughout. And if you want to live in the Long Bay area, the Glacier area, wherever we can locate properties, we will do our best to secure those lots, cut them up into good-sized lots, so we can make sure that you're not just in affordable housing, but in safe communities. We want to rebuild our communities for our people of Turks and Caicos.
So love that.
I'll just like to add a couple of quick points in addition to what the deputy has said. There's currently a situation where Turks and Caicos Islanders haven't been able to access Crown lands, and the deputy mentioned about getting back to the original lease price, and the whole team is on board with that. That is something that we are serious about doing. But in addition to that, just the ability to access Crown land is not there. Since the days of the lotto systems, you can count on one hand how many Turks and Caicos Islanders have been able to access Crown land to build a home. You have communities, Choksan for example, there's easily about 100 government-owned lots in Choksan that no one has been able to access for the last 10, 12, 15 years. There's no reasons why those lands can't be offered to persons. You have young couples who are ready to build, they're in a decent living, can afford to build in those areas, but can't access the land. And if you look across the Turks and Caicos Islands, you have existing communities. So while the government has spent millions of dollars buying land that they didn't necessarily need, you have existing communities where government-owned lots that could have been distributed to Turks and Caicos Islanders. That is something that we plan to do right away, and you'll be surprised that it literally just requires an amendment to the Crown land policy. That's it. It could be done and will be done in the first 6 months, that we'll make sure that our people access Crown land to build homes immediately. One last thing. We're looking to, in terms of reducing the cost of construction. Technology has advanced in the construction industry. There are all kind of modular homes, smaller footprints. So planning laws will have to be revised to make sure that instead of having a quarter-acre land, you can build on with smaller setbacks. We're going to make sure that everybody in the Turks and Caicos, every Turks and Caicos Islander that wants to own a home has the ability to own a home. So whether that's under 100,000 or upwards of the 500,000-600,000, as the deputy mentioned.
So to the single parent, to single young ladies and young men who we're sitting down and conversing with them, and they're saying to us that, you know, I'm paying $1,700, I'm paying $1,500 for a one-bedroom apartment, and I can't access mortgage to own my home. This PDM government, we're not playing it. We're assuring that you will be home owners in 2025 and beyond. We are investing in our people. You know, we haven't said it for the night. Your future is ours. All right.
And thank you. Just to add on to, because Honorable Butterfield brought up the mortgage, because the situation still comes back to mortgage and interest.
Yes.
So when you speak of cost of living, we will develop those relationships with traditional banks and private banks. It's about time we start offering special interest rates for our people of Turks and Caicos. You can go anywhere in the world and you have special interest rates. Currently right now you have a few interest rates that traditional banks offer. I don't know if many people know. Of course, like if you're in doing a corporation, you have the prime rate, which is actually one of the best rates you can get. And I believe if a caring government really truly cares and wants to ensure that people don't find themselves in issues where they can end up losing their home because the interest rate is too high, you have to develop those relationships where special rates are offered, such as for those that joins the regiment.
Yes.
I mean, you want people to join the police force, you want people to be civil servants. Where are their special interest rate? And we have to do this for our people straight across the board and ensure that our people are protected, because a lot of our Turks and Caicos Islanders find themselves in desperate situations that they sign on to these loan agreements because they desperately need the money and are paying ridiculous interest rate. And they find themselves paying on their mortgages 5-8 years and their principal haven't even budged. So this is where your caring government comes in, and we ensure that you have the best interest rate that possibly can be offered with a good fixed term, not just a 2-year term, but if we can extend it to a 3 to 5 year term, where it gives you an opportunity where you can get a good portion of your principal to start coming down, where the bank still benefits and get a good portion of the interest, because that's what the prime interest rate does for you. It gives you a good area where it takes a good chunk for principal and then it takes a good chunk of the interest. So basically you see where your principal starts to come down. So this is some of the things that we want to ensure that's implemented at the traditional level as well as the private bank levels for our people when they're accessing these homes. We don't just want to give you a home and you lose it to a financial institution in a 2 or 3, 5 year period. We want to ensure that you don't have that headache and worrying about, again, whether you can make mortgage, whether you have to pay for this, or whether you have to pay Provo with a company. So that's some of the things, additional things that we want to offer while giving you guys affordable housing, better interest rates as well.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, in dealing with those homes, we're going to make sure that all the infrastructure is in place. It's not just put a house on a property and that's it. All the roads, the sidewalks, all the lines, the parks, the community areas, the green spaces, lighting. We're going to develop communities. But I'm going to also go one step farther. The deputy talked about the commercial banks. And Honorable Garland, him and I being battling this, and anyone who have listened to the House of Assembly during that time when we was dealing with the Mortgage Corporation, you would have heard your two champions battling this. So they said that the government mortgage corporation is going to be competitive with the commercial banks. So your two champions said, okay, what you talking about competitive? Shouldn't be no competition here. It's the government mortgage corporation. It's the government development bank. Why do we have to compete with the commercial banks? I say our people shouldn't say, okay, the commercial banks is 6.5%, ours going to be 5%. I say, no, we're not going to be charging those people that. And the premier came back, no, we have to charge them something. We say, okay, well, you charge them. Come February, come next election, we didn't know the date, say come next election, our government is going to deal with it. When you apply to that mortgage corporation, you pay your fees for applications fees, and that's it. It ain't no this interest and that, you pay back your principal. If your loan is $200,000, you pay back $200,000. When that is done, that is done. That can go to our next Turks and Caicos Islander. You're saying competitive? You want to still charge our people? This is the people's money you're using. This is the people's mortgage corporation, and you want to charge them for giving them their own money? No. Not this PDM government. And we have argued this. So you would have heard us talking about that before. And last but no means least, we talk about affordable homes. But also in our manifesto, you're going to see the social homes. We haven't touched on that. We have only been dealing with the affordable homes. There's a thing in our manifesto that deals with social homes. That's the people who are very destitute, who can't afford to get a loan, who's not working, who's old and have retired in a dire situation. There's something called social homes and those group homes that we can bring the guys off the streets into an environment where they have a caretaker, where they can sleep. They have a room assigned to them. They have a bathroom, shared facilities. So we haven't even touched on our social homes yet. We have only been talking about affordable homes. So there's so much more to come February 7th from this PDM team.
That's awesome, man.
Honorable Leader, I'll say this to you.
That's awesome.
Tamper what you say, because these people steal people's ideas, okay? And I can be plain as that. Once we speak to something on any of our shows, any of our platforms, all of a sudden they have the idea.
Political plagiarism.
So let's be tampered in what we're saying, because we got some copycats.
Yeah. Political plagiarism. It's called political plagiarism.
Lack ideas.
Yes.
But I ain't gonna be soft on these guys.
No.
Right? They've shown this country that they are bankrupt of ideas. This country, the needle hasn't moved in this country for Turks and Caicos Islanders over the last 4 years. Only for a select few. Right? And we cannot be easy on this government, if you want to call them that. Right? But we're gonna move on. We'll segue into healthcare. Right? Access to quality healthcare has been a major concern for Turks and Caicos Islanders. What reforms will the PDM government put in place to address healthcare services and accessibility, affordability, and meet the needs of all Turks and Caicos Islanders? I'll throw this one to the leader.
Yes.
I think this is his specialty.
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, healthcare, what we have seen our healthcare system reduced to is very embarrassing and very alarming in the Turks and Caicos Islands. from misdiagnosis to wrong diagnosis to equipment not working, faulty equipment giving results. This is what has been taking place in the Turks and Caicos Islands. Late diagnosis, catching people at the end stages. You know, we thought that when we have the hospitals, we would have a less need for people to go out. But we are increasing the cost in country and further increasing the cost of person going out. It's like we're not treating anything in the Turks and Caicos Islands. Everybody have to go out. And to add insult with injury, now we owe so much of the facilities money. The government had to come back just before the dissolution of the House of Assembly to get $10 million to pay all bills. I was saying, is this $10 million to top up NHIP? They say, no, no, no. This is for outstanding bills. I was like, so you have already gone through all your money, but you still need $10 million for outstanding bills. What is going to happen December, January, February, March? And they have bankrupted our healthcare system. Our healthcare system isn't working for us. And also treatment abroad. NHIP treatment abroad isn't functioning. But when we talk about this, people like to say we're hitting the people inside there. This is no knock on the people who work there. This is a knock on those who are in charge of ensuring that the facilities, the institutions run right. And that is your government, that is the Minister of Health, that is the Premier, that is the Cabinet. We lay this at their feet. We lay all of this at their feet. But we're going to take a different approach. We're going to ensure that community clinics are in place. Every clinic. We're going to make sure that those mobile clinics are on the road, taking the health care to the people. If you cannot come to us, we will go to them. Persons and the family islands. You know, this is near and dear to Honorable Higgs, you know, to make sure that all family islands are taken care of. The nurses can go there now and go to someone in Middle Caicos, sit down with them, with computers, whatever scanners, and a doctor in Providenciales and Grand Turk can be reading that. And if they cannot do it, we'll have other professionals outside the country to read that while that person is there. So we are taking healthcare to the people, and we're going to ensure that we revamp, retool NHIP, that it is working for our people. And Mr. Chair, I was speaking that something into existence. It's coming, not yet. We are sending our people all around the Caribbean with not a cent in their pocket. And all these people have to call home to Good Samaritans and their family to send them some money. We have already started working on our treatment abroad policy. This is ready to roll out. And we have gone back into that and increased the amount of money that we are giving people. We are not going to send people, you're sick, and you're going to Colombia and being put out of a hotel. You're already in crisis, and now you're out on the street wondering, under pressure, wondering where you're going to spend the night. We're going to make sure our people are treated with dignity. No one will be sent off unless they have that money in their hand. If you don't want the money in their hand, we're going to put it to your account. But you're going to have that money, and we're going to ensure that we have the money in place to send off to go with all our people. That it will be a thing of the past that you have to call home begging people for money. It will be a thing of the past that our sick people are being put out of hotels in foreign countries where they do not speak the language, do not get the care that they need. We're going to ensure that our people, we're going to change the institutions or redo or revamp or increase the institutions that we can send our people to. We need specialized institutions for children, for babies, for people with cancer. And if it is in North America, we're going to change it can only be in this region. Because we're finding now that the same prices that is charged in North America is being charged in the region. So let's find the best place where our people can get the care, and we will send our people to those facilities. Nothing is too good for our people. Even if it costs a little bit extra to get you into those facilities in the United States, we will pay the extra. We will not be afraid to spend it on our people. And we will look at group insurance for the entire Turks and Caicos, even to reduce the cost. So when you go out there, your insurance are already covered. So if you go out there and get in an accident, you don't have to worry, Mr. Chio. You don't have to come now to say you have to come home first and then we're going to refer you. No, you go straight to that with your card. They know that is covered to any facility in the States. We are changing the game, the healthcare game in the Turks and Caicos Islands for 25.
Let me add this. We are around 50,000 in population. 30 beds 30 hospital beds. Is the PDM going to address this issue as it relates to capacity? 10 beds on Grand Turk, 20 beds on Provo, where most of the population resides. Half of the hospital sits vacant that can be expanded. Will the PDM address this issue immediately in terms of capacity and in an intensive care unit in country?
Yeah, just before the orders come in, Mr. Chair, I mean, just because healthcare was my baby, I just want to hit this and then I'll let the orders come in, right? We need an ICU here. In fact, we need 2 ICUs here in the Turks and Caicos Islands, and we will spend the money to make sure that get in place. But again, we will focus on preventive care to make sure that our people do not reach to that point where they need it. And it will be like on the plane, in the unlikely event that you need intensive care, we will have that there. And we have the space. So we will develop that space because we need our children unit. We need the unit where parents can go there, the rooms that parents can go there with their children and sleep and spend the night. You don't want your child in the hospital by yourself. So we will have the different varieties of room there and use the space. Both hospitals have that space, so it will not just be 10 or 15 beds. We definitely will extend that and put in the infrastructure there.
Mr. Chairman, there's a statement that is always in my spirit, is that when we had less, we did more. And now that we have so much, we are struggling to do the best for our people. Healthcare should and it is a priority. And for this PDM government, as our leader has so ably spoken and shared with you, the vision for the People's Democratic Movement with respect to healthcare, we are not leaving no one behind. I'm happy to hear that the sister islands and Grand Turk and South Caicos and North Caicos, they don't have to struggle just to get results. You know, you have to travel to the hospital, and hopefully the results is ready. And then you have to pay the $10, and then you have to go back, and then you have to come back. It's crazy. Grand Turk Hospital, non-existing. But we want to ensure our people that health matters. And now that we have more, we will invest in our people and ensure that you have the best health care. You know, when I'm traveling, if you're traveling, you're sick away as a Turks and Caicos Islander. You can't even call home to say, well, I need a referral, because the policy won't allow. You have to come back and be referred. It doesn't make sense. We cannot allow our people to continue to suffer and die. This is why this PDM government on February 7th, change is coming.
Gentlemen.
Mr. Chair, one last thing, which is troubling, and I'm glad Honorable Butterfield brought that up. I left laboratory services some 15 years ago. When we were there, in Grand Turk and in Providenciales, if you come to the lab and do tests in the morning, you can get your results in the afternoon. If you come in the afternoon, those results will be to your doctor the next day. And for the life of me, with all the advances in technology, how come today people are saying that they're waiting months and months for test results that you know can be done in one day? And with all the modern technology, so back in the day, we had to do so much of mixing, look under the microscope, contest. Now you just put in the machine and the results read out. So I can't understand what is going on. And Mr. Chair, I'm not knocking nobody, but people know this. If you go to the hospital and you say, well, I'm feeling this way, I'm feeling that way, the last thing you want to do, see somebody doing, is doing research and Googling what is your symptoms. Any health professional, you are trained to listen to the symptoms, you know, and look at the person's report. Okay, your eyes look yellow. You know, your skin look yellowish and your eyes bleeding and your mouth and all this. Well, I think this person may have jaundice, something simple like that, you know? Or if everybody went to a party last night, and I'm seeing everybody coming here with vomiting and diarrhea, and everybody say they've been to this party, you know it's a foodborne outbreak right away. And you know what test to order and treatment right away. So why do you have to go in? I can't understand that. Mr. Chair, we got to do better, Mr. Chair, and we will do better under this PDM government.
I clearly understand it. And let me make this point. Healthcare is in the situation it is in this country, and this government had 3 ministers of health. 3 ministers of health. 2 of those ministers of health was the deputy premiers.
Yes.
Right? And this current Minister of Health, I wouldn't say anything, right?
What you guys say?
This is serious. We have a few minutes left. Please chime in, and then we'll segue into the next.
Mr. Leader, you spoke about, I know you spoke about polyclinics, and you also spoke about mobile clinics. I mean, which is so good for the community and health for our elderly persons who have to go down to the hospitals and stand in those long lines. You know, I'm so grateful that those are the kind of policies that you're also looking at as well.
I think, if I may, I think one of the issues that we are currently experiencing is the NHIP, and it seems to be a failed experiment, because what has happened with that is that before NHIP was introduced, we had, if you remember, we had Model Rickley Clinic, and government will pay for overseas treatment and stuff. But since the introduction of it, it is not generating the revenue necessary, and you have everybody across the board paying into it, and you have government subsidizing it to the tunes of millions and millions of dollars each year, whereby foreigners are benefiting from it, from monies of Turks and Caicos government. Yeah. So that is an issue that we need to look at and see how we can some way deal with that, because we are spending millions and millions of dollars to subsidize NHIP, and at the same time it is benefiting a lot of the foreign nationals, and Turks and Caicos Islanders who can be benefiting from it are losing out.
As a matter of fact, before you go, Mr. Leader, that's a very serious situation, because I know even with the staffing, we have no local nurses in the NHIP, none. My father-in-law had a very serious situation. He was placed on a flight. A nurse went down there to take a patient and to pick a patient up. My father-in-law had to walk to the flight, and he has a condition. The nurse never checked for him. My father had to walk. When he got here, he had to walk from the aircraft all the way into the arrival. He was so sick. We had to take him home, and we had to take him to the hospital next day morning. The nurse never even checked for my father-in-law. This is very serious. It is ridiculous.
And Mr. Chair, that brings into my final point on that, because it would be remiss of us if we don't talk about our healthcare professionals. Mr. Chair, we have to take care of our healthcare professionals. We have to give them the incentives that they have to come home, that they want to come home, and that they will be welcome home. Mr. Chair, I am hearing people are reaching out to me, professional health professionals, coming, finishing school, being trained by government, and coming home and saying that they cannot get a job in the current facility. They cannot get a job in the current facility, and we have lost many health professionals who went back abroad and now contributing to other people's country while we could have got them home. We're going to make sure, look at those salaries. We're going to train way more healthcare persons and make sure that they are some of the top paying people. We're going to look at the health professionals and those teachers in education and make sure that they are some of the top paying professionals, and make sure that our people who are in those positions are properly taken care of. So we're going to train you out of that $12 million, and we're going to make sure that you have the incentives to come home with everything that we are given to foreign persons who come to our shores to work. We're going to make sure that you get it, and you can return home to your country, who desperately wants you to be here to help us grow.
Awesome.
Very, very, very disappointing that we have 3 ministers of health, and we have all of these issues that still linger in our healthcare system. But we'll move on to, I think, what is the most prominent issue in this country as we wrap up in this last 10 minutes. Crime and violence. Crime and violence remains a pressing issue throughout this nation. Gun violence. How does the PDM plan to address this crisis? That's what it is. Restore a sense of safety in this country for families, for mothers, for fathers, for our young people, for children, and all the communities throughout this country. What are the PDM's plans to address this issue head on? And I'll throw that out there. Who wants to start first? go ahead, brief. We'll wrap it up in about 10 minutes.
Yes.
I'll let the leader bring up the anchor part of this.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to be the person. I'm after 15 years, in the police department and seeing what has transpired over the last 4 years in our country. It is so sad because it's not only tearing away at the fabric of our society, threatening our communities, families, and of course, by extension, the youth of this nation is in trouble. But the PDM has a restorative, has a holistic and comprehensive plan to dealing with crime. And dealing with crime is not gun, handcuff, and of course, a bulletproof vest. There's a lot more to that. You have to really tackle the root causes of crime. And in most cases, it has to do with poverty and, of course, unemployment. And so you have to look at how, you're going to educate. You're going to look at how you're going to rehabilitate, and reintegrate. And one of the things you're looking at, we have to strengthen our justice system. We have to make sure that we, implement laws. These are outdated laws. You cannot fight today's crime with yesterday's laws. You have to make sure that you put in proper laws to be able to combat, gun violence and human trafficking and organized crime head on. We have to do that. We have to make sure that there are no loopholes in legislations that criminals, can undermine and explore. We have to be airtight with legislation. We have to put in restorative justice programs, and we talk about, with regards to giving our people, persons a second chance. Those things are very important so that they can, so there's a chance for rehabilitation and reintegration in our society to make sure that we break the cycle. One of the other things we have to look at, having fair and transformative justice. Justice denied, justice denied. Justice denied, sorry. We have to put in, we're going to invest heavily in our criminal justice system, where we, provide better resources and training and technology so that the backlog of cases that we have, it can be dealt with swiftly, and so that persons can have a sense of peace, knowing that justice is they're getting the justice that they rightly deserve. Support for victims of crime. That is those things that we are going to look at as a government. Community policing. Those things are so much important because as a government, we are going to look at, restoring those partnerships with the police and the community, so that, the police can work hand in hand with the people that they serve. Those things are very important. Not only that, we have to look at how we're going to have mentoring programs. We're going to have to look at educational programs for our youth, making sure that we target at-risk individuals, from vocational training, and the list goes on. So those things are very key. So we have to look at addressing crime in a holistic and, of course, in a comprehensive manner so that we can tackle crimes at all angles. I'm going to leave it for some other person.
Mr. Chair, this topic is very, very sensitive. Very sensitive to me. I'm upset, first off, most especially over Saturday's night, incident, and everybody in Turks and Caicos should be. And even before I took the stage and I saw the reports that were going around, of course it always replays back to my father's situation and other people who have been victims like myself. I get really emotional. And then when you hear of, the individual, that, life was taken, we have an obligation to the citizens of this country. In fact, everybody in the Turks and Caicos. I am so tired of the governor, every time an incident happens, her and the premier collaborate with a release. It's the same goddamn release every time. People like myself, people like my cousin who is in this room, we're still waiting for justice. People that is viewing this, we're still waiting for justice. We had enough of the excuses. It's our job as a country, as leaders and representatives, to ensure the safety of our people. I go on interview after interview and always say, where is the police? presence. Police presence alone deters crime. We have a CCTVs that the last administration would have invested millions of dollars into. Where's the investments of this administration to continue investing in the CCTV program? These CCTV programs were supposed to help detect criminals when crime happened. How is it that crime happened in any area where cameras are and we cannot locate where these perpetrators are? I mean, the government has to step up even if they have to start issuing big rewards for information leading to arrests. If you want to be serious about crime, invest in more patrol units. And I'm not talking about 20, 30, 50 and above. We have to have patrol and officers at just about every public venue. You go in any country. You go to Walmart in the US, you got patrol units there. You go to a nightclub, you got patrol unit. You go to even some churches, you got a patrol unit. Why? Because you have citizens gathering. You have to ensure their safety.
Security.
So as much as we can deter criminals from committing these crimes, we have to ensure that they're protected by all costs. Not to come out after the incident, it's too late. You have people losing, that's a mom, a grandmother that died over the weekend. That's a father that died over the weekend. And what do the governor and the premier come out with? They're doing everything in their best interest to protect and see that justice is served. You're not doing enough. You're not. My father has been gone 10 plus years now. Other people has lost loved one 5, 10, 15 years. You're not doing enough as a government. You have failed the people of Turks and Caicos. You have failed. And with all due respect, the premier should actually step down because he cannot handle it. And should give this administration an opportunity to try to address it. I do not feel safe in my country. None of us here feel safe. We don't know what we'll walk outside to right now. We need to invest. Put out $1 million reward to anybody that can bring information leading to any arrests. $500 million budget? Let's start spending some money. Because I have to live with the loss of my father every day. Don't even know why his life was taken. It was a coward. It was a coward. My cousin isn't here. She lost her brother just last year, gun violence. No communication, no response. And to the viewing audience, everybody is going through this. I'm getting aggressive, upset, emotional, because this has to stop. This has to stop. A young girl was in a car when she lost her father. Do you understand how serious this is? Where is the police presence? Where is the reinforcement? When will the UK step in? They want to call it the Royal Turks and Caicos Police Force. But by damn, we might as well just change it to the Turks and Caicos Police Force, because putting that title and you're not protecting us, what is the point? Give this administration an opportunity. And if we don't deliver, then you know what to do. Let's stop playing game. On February 7th, vote this current government out. Too many lives have been cut short. Give a serious government an opportunity to address this crime problem. And most especially, people who are truly victims of this, that's a part of this team, that wants to seek justice for every Turks and Caicos Islander that is being affected. This year, take over.
And I can associate with the passion that Honorable Bain has expressed. One of the greatest responsibility a government has is the safety and protection of its people. And I saw some stats recently. In 2021, year ending 2021, I think there was about 13 murders that year. And it grew every year. Up to last year, we had 49 murders. If you did the math, that's almost 300% increase. In any country, my people, any country where the government sits and let crime grow by 300%, that government is voted out without hesitation. Now, I know they say it's the governor is responsible for crime, but the government you elected is responsible for your safety and well-being. Had you heard the Premier ask one time, if the governor has failed and presided over crime growth of 300%. Did you hear the governor call for the government call for the renewal of the governor, the removal of the governor? That is something that should be alarming. You cannot sit and allow a crime to grow at this level. Everybody living in fear. Our tourist industry is under severe stress and threatened because of the level of crime. Our people don't know what to do. And the government sits, says, little is nothing, and pass the buck. I can assure you, we will take responsibility for the peace, safety, and security of our people. When the governor falls asleep on the job, whether it's a male or female, we would sound the alarm that you must be recalled. You're not doing your duty. If you're not doing your duty and they would not recall you, then we're going to advocate vigorously for a local minister that has the responsibility for the safety of our people. And when they fail, you can go to someone directly and vote them out. But you cannot have a person who cannot be voted out responsible for something as important as crime, and you say nothing. You just give a joint press release and try to cover everything up. You have failed. This government has failed the people on crime and should be voted out. 300% increase in crime is simply unacceptable. No other country in the world would accept that, and we as Turks and Caicos Islanders shouldn't. On the 7th of February, vote them out.
And let's be real with the stats. Just want to remind Turks and Caicos Islands what has happened between 2021 and 2024. 2021, 13 murders. 2022, 34 murders. 2023, 24 murders. 2024, 48 murders. 2025, and it's only what? The 20th of January 2025. And we are now 3 murders in the Turks and Caicos Islands.
Wow. So in essence, that's 121 murders under this administration. And if you've noticed that they failed to address crime on their platform, they wouldn't speak about crime at all. And it's so sad because last election, you had the deputy premier, the Honorable Jamel Robinson, the Honorable Jamaica Williams, the Honorable Sean Malcolm, the Honorable E.J. Silas, the Honorable Washington Missick. Every last candidate was killing the PDM on that was their campaign. They're going to do this and oh, look at this, and all of a sudden you now have, oh, crime ought not to be politicized, or crime, you shouldn't do this. But the reality of it is that local government is responsible for law and order, is responsible for crime, for dealing with crime. That is why under the PDM administration, we implemented the National Security Council. That who co-chairs that? The Premier and the Governor. The minister responsible for immigration, border control sits on that. The commissioner sits on that. We have the dominating force on the National Security Council so that we could effect crime in our country. That's why we did it. That's why we implemented the border force. That's why we implemented the regiment. These were components to be able to address crime here in the Turks and Caicos Islands. They have done absolutely nothing. They refuse to speak to crime. They refuse to speak about how they're going to deal with crime. But guess what? Again, the PDM, under the leadership of the Honorable Edwin Andre Aswad, we have a comprehensive plan to address crime in the Turks and Caicos Islands.
I can understand the passion of this topic, and rightfully so, because this has been an issue for us in this country for the past 4-8 years going on. And it is unfortunate that we find the current administration saying that we should not make crime a political issue. And we are not making crime a political issue. I agree, crime is all our problem. But it would be remiss of us as candidates wiring for public office not to address an issue of crime. There's no way we cannot address the issue of crime. Crime is prevailing within our country, as most of you all have said. I mean, we have people who can't sleep at night. You have people who are afraid. There are people who are afraid to go out their houses, who are afraid to go in public, in the public places because they don't know what's going to happen. So it is our duty. It is our duty as a government invading and as candidates who are presenting ourselves to represent this country to speak on the issue of crime. You know, we cannot not speak out on the issue of crime because it affects all of us, and we must at every opportunity that we have speak to it. And as we all have said, the PDM do have a plan. If we are successful, when we are successful, and we will definitely solve the issues that this country is currently facing as it relates to crime. Thank you.
So one of the things that we got to acknowledge, and it was stated when we talked about immigration and border security, we have to know who is in the country. And the PDM is serious about cleaning this country up to make sure that the police officers, when they're doing the investigation, they have the proper intelligence, they have proper databases that they can check to see if they find a fingerprint, they can run it against the database, know quickly who is from. If it is not in the database, that simply means that that person is an illegal person in the country, because everybody that's in the country legally will be captured in that database. It is time we use intelligence that everyone uses around the world. I've said it in a press conference, I'll say it again tonight. While you might find some people kick hell about offering their fingerprints or having to give their fingerprints, it's all foolishness. Because every single person that have a smartphone has given their fingerprints to a private company around the world that they don't know who the shareholders are or what is being done with their information. So if the government of the Turks and Caicos is demanding that information in order to make sure that you and our citizens are protected, that is exactly what we will do.
Thank you very much, candidates. Thank you very much. Turks and Caicos Islands, I am so proud of my team here. They have articulated the situation very well, and they gave the solutions to it. And I want to assure you that our team, the PDM team, we will address crime. If something doesn't work, we will regroup, come again, and try another tactic. But we will go on and on until we deal with the situation. But before we close, I have seen the release today, and as speakers have said, you saw the pictures from the National Security Council. So there's no way that any premier or any deputy premier can say that they have no influence on crime when you sit on the National Security Council and you are meeting with the police and law enforcement every week or every other week. We have seen the $500,000 for the special, for the tactical team, which is good. But I'm saying, why it had to come to this for you to now invest that money? That money should have been there a long time. And I have to ask, Mr. Chair, why was the technical unit disbanded in the first place? 2 days before you got voted out. Why was that disbanded in the first place, and now at the 9th hour, you want to put it back in place? Wow. Mr. Chair, many police officers, when we speak to them, and they want to remain off record, saying we are not getting the full support that we need. Honorable Taylor talked about it. This piecemeal approach to law enforcement cannot work. And I'll use just one healthcare analogy. Imagine if you have a bacterial infection and you take your antibiotics. The doctor gives you 12 antibiotics to take. You take 2 and say, I feel good, so I'm not going to take the next 10. What do you think is going to happen? You only kill a little bit of the bacteria. But the ones who remain, they're going to go stronger, they're going to build up resistance and come back harder. And that is what is happening in crime, because we are not going in and dealing with the situation wholeheartedly. We're not pushing all our chips in and going in. We're doing piecemeal, giving the police 1 car, 2 cars, 6 more officers. Our approach is to go all in with fighting crime. Everything that is needed to fight crime, we will give that. The increase in manpower, you heard it from the panelists here. We will increase it to the optimal level. Equipment, optimal level. Vehicles, optimal levels. Special forces, optimal level. Boats, optimal level. CCTV, optimal level. We will give you everything you need, so at the end of the day, there's no excuse, and we can hold each and every one of us accountable. The government, we will come to you. You will never have to wonder what is the government saying. Anytime when something happened in the country, myself, the deputy, or whoever we designate will come to you and let you know what is going on. We're going to get crime under control. That is our mission, and we're going all in, whatever it takes, whatever funding, not this piecemeal and coming at the 9th hour and now funding, which is good, but at the 9th hour, we're going all in. Our people's safety and security is truly our priority, all of our priority, the PDM priority.
There you have it, Turks and Caicos, a holistic approach to crime and dealing with the issues. But before we close, I challenge the PNP to do one thing. Get on your platform throughout this campaign and tell this country what your crime plan is. If you call yourself man, get on up. I challenge any one of you. Get on any platform and speak to this country about crime and what you intend to do to solve the issue. And in addition to that, tell this country what your record is on crime. Tell us what you have done on crime for this country to re-elect you as a government to be charged with the responsibility of our safety and our lives and our children's lives and the future generations of this country. Tell this country what your record is. I challenge you. And tell us what your plan is moving forward. Okay? No more DJs drowning out sound bites when you speak on crime, so this country never knows what you said. Okay? Turn the music down and speak to this country, the Turks and Caicos Islands, on crime and what your plan is and what your record is. I challenge you to that. Ezra, Ringo, Tyrone, Taylor, chairman of the People's Democratic Movement, challenges the PNP to tell this country what their record is on crime. Man in Blue, I thank you. This country look forward to you solving them. Turks and Caicos, we thank you for joining us. Man in Blue, we'll do this again, I'm sure, at some point. Turks and Caicos, we love you. Be safe. And the PDM knows that your future is our priority. Good night. Goodbye.
When we outside, it's PDM love. Ring all the bells, stars up above. Let me dance now, take a vote now with me. Vote for PDM, and we voting money. We voting, look the people voting. Look at the blue, tell them we not leaving. Tell the last one to leave the poll, go vote to the capital. I feel like I ring the bell again, shop and shake the bell again. We're with PDMs again. PDM is home, home, home. Look at the blue. I feel like I ring the bell again, shop and shake the bell again. We're with PDMs again. PDM is home, home. February 7th, it's a be having. This is the right time, straight down the line. Straight down the line. Look where we are, so magical. It's a blessing sent from above, and we voting money. We voting. Look, the people voting. Look at the blue. Tell them we not leaving. Hey, tell the last one to leave the poll. Go vote to the capital. I feel like I ring the bell again. Shop and shake the bell again. We're with PDMs again. PDM is home. PDM home. 10, we are all PDMs. Give me 1, give me 9, just vote straight down the line.